Now I'm taking a moment to see everybody because I was coming in and setting up, and I see old friends here and I see new people. And of course our journey with Bethany, for me, it goes all the way back when this church was on Mark Street in Pontiac, when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And Thelma Felice was one of our first Sunday school teachers. Andy Pepper was one of my Sunday school teachers. There are some of the elders and models in this church community, and I know they have both passed now, but so when I come to this family, I really feel a sense of family. And family is a theme that you'll hear in our story. What I have seen in the world of autism and disabilities is it's families coming together and greater families surrounding that family that is causing the success that we see today. We have an epidemic of all kinds of issues happening in our world. There's a lot of feeling that a lot of that is toxin and illness based, that a lot of these disabilities have like autism, they're really looking at an immune issue, at a thing in the brain where the body doesn't detox the way a normal person does. This is some of the latest cutting edge research, that there's blockers. So that's why these kids can't digest gluten sometimes. That's why these kids are sometimes reacting to immunizations. It's because they can't process the chemicals that are in them. It's not necessarily those stressors themselves, but it's some basic changes in the physiology so that they can't tolerate these things. So that's part of our story too. But what I see is there's great success out there, and we have a wonderful success story. And this family community, Bethany family community, was part of the support through our story. So I just want to say thank you to this community for being part of our story. Alaire, do you want to sit during the first part? We agreed that I would do some talking, then Alaire's going to do some talking, and then I'll do some talking. I get to do the story of the background. Alaire was a miracle child. I was on bed rest for 9 months. I found out you're pregnant, there's bleeding, you're on bed rest. I had to lay on my left side, and I could get up for 5 minutes at a time. I could sit up for up to 2 hours, but that wasn't recommended for me to be up that long. I was to lay on my left side for hours and hours. I never was much of a TV person, so when I watched the umpteenth episode of Home and Garden with all these ideas of what I could do to my home, I was like, I can't do this anymore, because I was just getting frustrated. Jigsaw puzzles became my salvation during that time. And I would lay on my left side, and I had jigsaw puzzles on the floor that I would do. Also, I was going to the First Baptist Church of Royal Oak at that time, because that's where I was living. There were 3 other moms on bed rest, and we had a phone community, and we supported one another. One of them had done it before, can you imagine? And she's doing it again. She actually had 4 children, and 3 of those pregnancies she had major times on bed rest. She said, find out what your child is, name your child, read stories to your child, sing to your child, they are there. And so we did start a journey with Alaire. We started pictures when she was still in utero at 8.5 weeks, 15 weeks, 20 weeks. We started her baby book a little early, and I did do all those things. When she came, she did very well. She was a good birth weight, but with the first immunization, she did have a strong reaction, and we did see some seizures. That made me very cautious as we went along that path. She didn't settle, she cried a lot, and I knew that we were on a journey. As she grew, we found out she did better outside. We also found that she didn't get words the same way that other people got words. I would have to put her in front of the door and point outside before I could get her dressed to go outside. Then it was like, okay. But before that, as soon as I could get something on, it was off again because of the sensory. Then as we grew, we continued to find those things that helped Alaire, that encouraged Alaire. God's world, the natural world, was what was the gift for Alaire. That was where she found calm. That's where she found things that she could relate to. And that's where she didn't have to deal with words, the way we use words and language. I can't tell you how many times I heard from people, well, she needs to use her words. And I'm like, well, that would be nice, but in a situation that she's stressed, that's like the words are the furthest away from her for her toolbox. She needs other things she can do when she's stressed, and then we can follow up with words. But that's like really high level, and she's communicating with us way down here. And the psychologist, Dr. Glavinsky, that we worked with, would remind me of that over and over. Sharon, too many words. She outputs up here, because she always had this incredible vocabulary, but she inputs down here. She got that vocabulary not from here, but from her eyes, because she read, and she picked up things through her eyes. And that's why early on you'd hear these big words coming out of her mispronounced. Why? Because she read them. She hadn't heard them, she read them. So all of her gifts started to come out, and we had to honor where she was. So then that kind of bridges to, as we spent time outside and at the zoo, we leased a chicken. We ended up at Oakland County Fair. She was very blessed to have two fantastic, amazing judges at her first judging experience. We were in 4-H for 2 months. Bill Mayer is Master Exhibitor number 14 with the American Poultry Association. The American Poultry Association has been around since 1863? 73? Okay. See? She's the poultry champion. And so she had this amazing judge who knew kids, who knew poultry. There aren't that many Master Hall of Fame exhibitors, and he's one of them. That was one of her first judges. What are the odds, right? God has really blessed us. The other, Dr. Patterson, his dad used to go around with Bill Mayer, and he also is just an amazing supporter of the poultry hobby. He is a vet, and he is also a brain cancer survivor, and he is just amazing. So I'm going to turn it over to Alaire, and she can talk about how starting to work with chickens from her first leased chicken, Nancy, all the way to Goldie, affected her life.